Good morning. Welcome.
Good morning, everyone. So today is June
6th.
6th, yes, 2021. The lovely month of June, and we're so happy.
We're going to be talking today about pain and suffering, misery and upset, difficulty and struggle. You may want to tune out now. No, actually, we're not. We're going to talk about struggle, yes, but what pulls us in the future? What pulls us? What vision pulls you, rather than what pain pushes you? And that's kind of an important piece.
One of the leaders in our movement, Dr. Michael Beckwith, is the one who has said, "You're either pushed by pain or pulled by a vision." And the visioning process that he teaches that we use is what he used to grow his huge megachurch in the Los Angeles area. But we wanted to focus more on this pulled by a vision or guided by
Guided
a
by a
vision.
vision, yeah.
Guided by a vision. And
what I didn't like about either one of the pushed or pulled is that they're both, the person is passive in both. And what I like about being guided is that you're a participant in the process rather than, well, I'm being pushed or pulled, I don't know. And both of those have a negative connotation for me.
So for myself, this morning when I was meditating, I had to ask what vision is compelling to me now. Because I'm no longer trying to conquer the world, become successful, any of those things, and I suspect our people are not either, or many of them. Some are. Some of you are of an age that you are. But what appeals to me more is the vision of accepting the legacy that I have of the divine, just to be in this thing called life, supported by love, abundance, grace, and love. I already said love, isn't it? Well, I meant relationship love and the love of God.
You can say love, yes.
Peace and joy, all of that, just to accept that as my legacy. And that's the vision that I want to have right now. And I was also helped with this by reading the reading today from Ernest Holmes' 365. That's an opening meditation prayer for each day. And so this is the one for today. It's called Today I Meditate Upon My Divine Inheritance. The kingdom of God is at hand. I inherit everything that belongs to this kingdom. The riches and the power and the glory of this kingdom are mine now. I do not rob anyone by entering into the fullness of the kingdom of power, of joy, and of abundance. I recognize that everyone inherits the same kingdom. There is no law of humanity, no law of human heredity imposed upon me. Evil has no history. Limitation has no past. That which is opposed to good has no future. The eternal is now and filled with perfection. I always have been and always will remain a complete, perfect, and whole expression of the eternal mind, which is God, the living Spirit Almighty. Today, I enter into the limitless variations that the Divine Spirit has projected into my experience. I know that all things are good when rightly used. I perceive that all experience is a play of life upon itself. I enter into the game of living then with joyful anticipation, with spontaneous enthusiasm, and with a determination to play the game well and to enjoy it. Today, I enter into my divine inheritance. I have shaken my thoughts loose from the belief that external conditions are imposed upon me by birth, through inherited tendencies, or race belief. I proclaim the freedom of my divine legacy of love, abundance, peace, and joy. I possess the kingdom of good today in all its fullness. And so it is.
Great message.
Indeed. So, that really is what we are seeking. Even though we may think, well, we're seeking lots of other things, abundance, success, good relationships. But I love this quote from Buddhism. It's one of the writings of Buddhism that says, the problem with you is not that you have desires, but that you desire so little. Why not desire at all? Why not want complete fulfillment, joy, and freedom? End of quote. And of course, what that means is why not seek spiritual enlightenment?
So I think we need to pay particularly close attention to the thinking that we do after we claim something for ourselves that's good. And the thinking often, without even realizing it, starts to make it smaller. And so often I think you've had a great vision and then you said, well, or somebody has said to you, and I've grown to hate the term, well, let's be realistic here. And, most businesses or most things like this, or, most relationships or most whatever. And then there's the diatribe that goes on about it's not working, or that not to expect too much, or I don't want you to be disappointed. And the truth is the greatest things that have ever happened to you happened without your anticipating bad things happening. They happened to you because you opened the space and you couldn't imagine it any other way. I'm reminded of falling in love and thinking there's no way this isn't going to work. And other people telling me very clearly how it wasn't going to work and how this particular person wasn't going to be available and this wasn't going to happen and that. And I just said, I just know better than that. And it did work, for almost 2 weeks. But no, but
Are you talking about the Mouseketeer?
yeah, well, and that Funicello was my girl. But when we pursue a vision, we're guided by a vision, and we pursue it with the consciousness of aliveness and of excitement and enthusiasm. That becomes contagious, and it becomes part of this universe that allows us to have in it what we'd like to see more of. Imagine that you'd like to get an exceptional and amazing job. And imagine that the reason you want the job is because you're depressed and miserable and don't have enough money. And imagine the consciousness that goes with wanting to get that job, which is lack, not abundance. Now imagine, and this has actually happened to me, I want to get a job, but I don't have to worry because I've already been given a great offer. And I'm going to go to this other interview, or I'm going to follow this up just because I can, but I already have a great opportunity ahead of me. And what's interesting is every time I've ever gotten a really good job, I already had a good job. I already had a good offer. And every time I haven't gotten a good job, I think what happens is the consciousness of lack is what prevails. So what we're looking at today is looking at what pushes you away from what is guiding you. And what is guiding you is a vision, but what may be pushing you is fear and doubt and lack and all of that. And the power of that, when given lots of energy and the time and attention, is enormous.
Right. You have to check in with your feeling state when you're visualizing or doing spiritual mind treatment for something that you want. How are you feeling about that? You should be, excuse me for shitting on you, but you should be in a state of grateful acceptance instead of, well, I really want that. I need that, because you're coming from lack, and you'll attract more lack that way, by the way.
I love the statement, this or something better. And it's always helped me, because when I get excited about something, I think, this, I go from I'm excited to, oh my God, this has got to work. And then if I'm not careful, this has to work. And what if it doesn't? And so within minutes, I can see myself going from excitement to worry and loss, as opposed to, there's always a chance that it won't work. And that's okay, because what it'll do is it'll open the door to something that does work. This will be a step along the way. In fact, what I've noticed in many opportunities that I've had in my life is the first 2 or 3 occasions of what looked like opportunity were warm-ups for the real opportunity. They were false starts. That was the energy expressing itself in the universe saying, yes, 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 but we're not quite ready, but keep heading in this direction. And it's easy to read those as, oh my God, I tried so hard. The first 3 didn't work. Maybe I shouldn't be doing this. And the truth is, maybe you're on the right path, especially if you've decided that you are and you want to continue to pursue it, and you'll learn no matter what you do, what you need to learn to continue on.
I learned this week that the last year and 2020, which is, the year of the pandemic,
Great year.
great, great hardship. But I had no idea that we went from 40,000 deaths a year by overdose of heroin and fentanyl to 70,000. 70,000 people died of overdoses of heroin and fentanyl. We had more suicides than ever. And so I think the cause of that is that people not knowing they can go to source to feel that everything is good for them right here, right now. They don't have to have things from the outside. We so fret about what we don't have instead of focusing and going within to find what we do have. Joel Goldsmith became an independent healer, but years ago he got his start as a Christian Science practitioner. And one of the things that he says is, go to God as an empty vessel, desiring fulfillment in God's way and measure. Now, he says that, and I'm sure he did that, and yet he became financially very successful as a healer. He got letters and requests from all over the world and ended up living in Hawaii, creating a great work without a pulpit, without a platform, just praying for people's wellness and getting results. And so he did that by this connection, this just, I think it was Jesus that said, I know it's in the Bible, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and then all things added unto it. All the other things that we want, the success, the prosperity, the nice house, that content children, all of that's important to us. We have to seek first that sense of love and joy and being provided for by the universe. And then all those things get added to it.
I remember one winter in a fairly large house that we had, a beautiful house that was decently furnished, and there was just nothing about the house that wasn't nice, except the power was out. And because the power was out, the heat didn't come on, and there was no heat. And the most invisible thing that was required for this to be a home was missing. And that would be love, that would be kindness, that would be an intention to serve. It would be, and the house would have been added unto the heat had it been turned on. What's the fire? What's the fire that you're feeling? What I know about what Joel, you said Joel, right?
Joel
Yeah, what
Goldsmith,
Joel said, I've read a lot of his work, and what Joel never said was, I'm praying for you, I'm going to know, and I'm going to believe, and God, I hope it works. No, he said, I know this for you, and I know it to be so true that it could be, and there could be no other way. And I know that when I've done healing for people all across the world, in fact, I have never ever done a healing for a person that I didn't know it was going to work. I didn't know how it would show up and express itself, but I knew that it would work because I know that no matter what you do, that action lives and has its being in this universe that we all share. And so there's no such thing as there's no thing. There is that you do something and something happens. How that happens, that's interesting. But I mean, when I get a phone call from somebody halfway across the country who tells me that the healing work that I did for them not only worked, but what I find out is that as much as I knew and believed and was excited about doing it, within days after that, when I got a phone call saying that good things, I was surprised. And it boggles my mind that I can know,
be
you
so
can know,
confident.
and be so confident. And in the background, there is this undoing. And I think that's part of what we're talking about today is the undoing that often goes on in the background that we just need to give our attention to and say, this is not a time for undoing. This is a time for doing. This is a time for moving forward.
And when things don't go perfectly and we get sick or we have a loss or we have a heartache, it's so easy to wonder, what have I done wrong? What have I thought wrong? What's in my consciousness? And I think it's not always about that. I really do think that this is here on the earth experience that, you're going to have. I don't know a single person who gets through life without some heartache and pain. And I think that's as it should be. Uh, David White is a poet. He does beautiful poetry. And this is one of the things that he has to say about pain. Pain is the doorway to the here and now. It asks us to heal by focusing not only on the place the pain is felt, but also on the actual way the pain is felt. Pain is a form of alertness and particularity. Pain is a way in. Now, I read that whole thing just for that last statement. Pain is a way in. It's a way inside. And inside is where you connect with all that is. Inside is how you connect with that feeling of being connected with the divine, and that life is everywhere, evolving, changing, and your pain too will change. I told Bob that with my first childbirth, it was a breech birth. I was 23 years old and I was having a breech birth in Germany, a long way away from the base in the winter. And of course, I didn't know it was a breech birth. I just knew it was instantly very painful. And my sister, thank God, was with me and drove me to the hospital. And, everything proceeded fine. But afterwards, I knew I was in so much pain. I wondered if I had yelled and screamed and embarrassed myself. So I asked the nurses and doctors if I had. And they said, no, in fact, you were very quiet. And what was interesting about that to me is that I knew I was really going in, you know, with that pain, that there was nothing to do but go deep inside. And so that can be one of the values of pain, that opportunity to go in and connect with real life.
It's a teacher.
Yeah.
You brought up that pain. I mean, and that was a pretty big deal. I mean, I recently had to go through a very painful procedure. I had to have blood drawn.
I know. I don't know how you stood it, Bob.
I went deep within, and then I did a lot of it,
Deep
a lot
breathing.
of a lot of inner work. And the phlebotomist was a little surprised that I gave that much attention to a 20-second blood draw, but nevertheless, it was my procedure. Well, pain it's a wake-up call to needing to pay attention to something, and it doesn't. We give it lots more meaning often than it deserves, other than that it's a way in. It's a wake up to what we need to give attention to, and that can be emotional pain. It can be physical pain. What you were talking about with the increased numbers of suicides and what we are seeing in the world that we call depression, we have been trained to a large extent to run away from ourselves and run into different things, whether it's purchasing on Amazon or whether it's watching a movie or whether it's going for a walk. We've been taught in many cases, get out of yourself and go do something. And at a time when people haven't been able to do that, they've been called to go inside, and they actually don't know how to do that. They haven't had that skill developed. And so that inward journey that people are accustomed to, that have been meditating, can be a lifesaver. In fact, it's actually a respite. And for the persons who have been used to running, it is agony. It is just pain, suffering.
Mhm. Yeah. Ram Dass, was a spiritual teacher. Um, it was, first of all, I believe, a clinical psychologist,
Yeah,
wasn't he,
I
a
believe so.
professor? And but he went to India and he had a spiritual awakening, and he became a great spiritual teacher who had a very trying time before he died. He had a stroke and wasn't able to speak at first, and it was very, I'm sure, very painful. But this is something that he says about pain. He says, as we play the edge of our pain, gently opening, acknowledging, and allowing, the suffering it has caused diminishes. If we further dissolve the boundaries, letting ourselves enter into the pain and the pain enter into us, we can see the possibility of going beyond it to where the heart is freer. We've never been so vulnerable, so defenseless, and yet somehow so safe. The surrender we were so frightened of turns out to be not defeat, but a kind of victory.
Amazing. And well said. Even I like that. The one thing that I'll never forget that he said that I've always liked is we're all just here walking each other home.
Mm,
That's
so good.
that
So
is
good.
so incredible. I was reminded, it's an aside, but I had knee surgery some years ago, a knee replacement, and that's where they cut off your leg and replace the knee.
cut off,
Yeah, but
cut off the knee and
yeah,
stick it.
this is not a small deal. But I'm in the hospital and it's 2 o'clock in the morning and I'm in terrible pain, and I've never had pain like that. It's almost as bad as a breech birth, but and I can't get any more drugs because they give me all that I can. I'm an artist. I'm a creative person. We all are. And so I began in my mind moving the pain because I had Photoshop. I began framing the pain and moving it to the other side of the bed, just outside the bed. And as I did this, I noticed the pain diminished. And of course, I was hallucinating with all the medicine that they'd given me. But what struck me was that my creative mind still found a way into managing that pain. And so the nurse came in and said, "I have blood pressure." I said, "Don't go over there." She said, "Why?" I said, "That's where I'm keeping the pain." And then they wanted to have a psych consult. And I said, "No, I don't need a psych consult. Just don't walk over there without keeping the pain." It was in a box that I put it in. But it's amazing what our creative mind will do when pushed to those outrageous limits, or when challenged. We can be led, we can be guided by a vision. We don't have to be stuck in pain. I would not have believed, and I can't even believe to this day, that I could have endured that kind of pain and had anything to do with it other than drugs. And that there was some way to actually
Yeah, really.
manage it.
Really, yeah. Yes, because they're not always effective.
No, there was not enough morphine for that day. So
So, shall we close with a prayer?
yeah, I think so. And then we're going to, for those of you that are going to be sticking with us, we're going to have some music. And for those of you that don't stick around afterwards, we are a ministry that is supported by you. So we appreciate your support. Everyone that's a part of this is a part of our life and part of our family.
So, let's go within now, where we contact the all that is and become a part of it by knowing that there's just one life, one mind, one infinite intelligence and universal love that is everywhere present, including within the heart and mind of me. I know that any pain I've experienced is a way into knowing the truth of who I am, a way into knowing and being reminded of what's important. I choose right here and now to accept the love of God.
And I allow myself to be guided. I allow myself to be guided by that which is greater than me, that lives in me. I allow myself to be moved, to be held, to be cared for, to be understood. I allow and invite all of this, and I say yes. And I know that it is done. And together we say,
And so
and
it
so it
is.
is. We're going to turn off the recording. We're going to turn, I found some great music today to go with our